I kind of like Return of the Jedi better. There's just so much to it. It moves. You get to see Luke, the green lightsaber. Hey, yo, you two. Welcome back to another episode of First Time Watching, where Cornelio or I will watch a classic movie or movies for the first time. Write down our questions, then we answer them here on my YouTube channel, Comic-Jon. I am your host, your coordinator of confusion, your director of distraction, John Hassinger. And it is an absolute privilege to have you join us on our Nerd Network from around the globe each week for all the videos we post, from our Mandalorian review show, I Have Spoken, news briefs, hot take movie reviews, trailer reaction videos, and of course, First Time Watching. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, and check out parts 1 and 2 of this series, First Time Watching, where we answer all of CJ's questions from Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, A New Hope, and Empire Strikes Back, which means it is time to dive into my favorite installment in the Star Wars Skywalker saga. Sorry, that's like a new term. I'm still getting used to saying it. Return of the Jedi. Now, CJ, good to see you. Thanks for coming back.
Yes. Good to see you, John. Thank you. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it.
And before we get into your questions from Return of the Jedi, my only question for you is, do you have your tickets?
I do have my tickets. Yes, sir.
Oh,
I got
when are you
app.
going?
I downloaded the barcode and everything. I'm ready to go for tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
Yes. My wife asked me. She saw in the commercials. She said, "How is it that you're watching the movie tomorrow night? It says here that it comes out on Friday." And I said, "Nope. Early release is on Thursday. So I am going on Thursday." And then she says, "Oh, you're one of those now." I was like, "Not yet. Listen, not yet." I
was in another group chat thing today about Star Wars with YouTube people, and somehow they got into the topic that their community was a positive one, and that they don't have people that just come on there to complain about Star Wars, because as hardcore as Star Wars fans are, they're as hardcore evil and miserable and mean. So I just I look at Star Wars like pizza, because I think it's so ridiculous that people get upset over movies. It's like getting upset at a painting. Like, you don't have the option to have any sort of input. Take it for what it is, and that's it. Like, there's no way that it's going to affect my happiness. Now, there's an example that I want to use. The last X-Men movie. That was a bad movie for so many reasons other than the story. The pacing of it was so chopped together. There was no development at all. It was like they all did it on one shot, one take. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the only way this movie's going to be bad, is if they just are racing through any sort of interesting character moments. And I know J.J. Abrams, all over his DNA, is just character development. That's like what he does. So I just think that no matter what, Star Wars is like pizza. I don't care who made it. I don't care who said it wasn't good. I'm going to eat all of it, and I'm going to enjoy it.
That's good.
So
that's a good analogy.
Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
No. And it's perfect analogy, because I don't like pizza. So it fits perfect in this. It's great.
Okay, then
however, I will eat pizza if needed, if that's what they're serving. And I will be the weirdo that actually likes pineapple on pizza. I love a Hawaiian pizza. And a deep dish pizza from Chicago, something like that. So you're right. Pizza, some people say pizza is pizza. You don't complain about pizza, right? If you want to treat everybody in the company for staying late doing inventory, you buy pizza. Everybody's going to eat it. I'm not going to be too excited about it, but I'm going to eat it. At the end, I ate. I can tell you one thing. I like J.J. Abrams. I think he has done a great job in movies and TV shows. And I think you're right. I think it looks like a well-made movie so far for the trailers. I have no emotional involvement in it, so I'm going to enjoy it for what it is, a movie and a good epic movie. And I love epic movies. Anything that has to do epic, from The Lord of the Rings to The Matrix to Marvel, I love that, and that's what I'm excited about. Um, I can
Right.
tell you one thing. I can tell you one thing. Return of the Jedi, my favorite movie so far of the first six.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's mine too. And I'm a huge Jabba the Hutt fan. I thought that was another character that we got half an episode of when he could have had a whole movie as the villain with all his gangster connections that he has. I just feel like there was a lot more there. And there is a great novel out there, Tales from Jabba's Palace, which it's the only Star Wars book I've ever read. And it's so cool. It explains all those weird side characters that are in there that have like little moments that everyone remembers forever. uh,
Cool.
how they all become, part of Jabba's employ.
Great.
But
I'll take your
so
word for it.
Return of the Jedi. It was your
Yes.
favorite. It was your favorite. Before we get to your questions, why?
Yes, sir. Because it was well made. Okay. So just like we mentioned in the previous episodes, I appreciate a good story. I think that the the Skywalker saga, I think the Star Wars uh, universe is beautiful. It is very creative and allows us to get out of the cynic, realistic world we live in and to fantasize of something cooler and more awesome out there. The reason I don't like the first movies, 4 and 5, is because I don't think they did a good job with the basics of making a movie when it comes to editing and acting. Same thing for number 1, 2, and 3, which we reviewed 2 and 3. It just poor acting, poor character development, rely too much on CGI to carry the movie. Not enough. Big opportunity to have done something so amazing with it, with the right technology and the right story, origin story with Darth Vader. They didn't do it. Return of the Jedi grabs what it already exists, a great story, characters that people love, actors and actresses who already feel comfortable with the character, so have they got the chance to develop that character, they have grown with the character, and they have emotional involvement. You can see it through the movie. But the best thing that George Lucas did for, if he was the director for number 6, by the way, was he the director?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, the greatest thing he did was the longer scenes. If you notice, if you do a comparison with number 4 and number 6, less editing, less jumping from one scene to another. The scenes are longer. It allows the characters to develop that emotion, the actors to develop the emotion. You start believing the dialogue, you start believing the storyline, you believe their struggles, and it's great. I mean, you see a scene from Palpatine facing Luke uh, explaining Leia that it's his brother and sister. I would have liked the scene to be a little bit longer. I think that it let Leia digest the fact that they're brother and sister, and she kiss him. I would like to see like a little bit of a throw up, like oop, oop. Just remember that she kissed her brother. But the scenes are longer, and that's what I enjoyed. Of course, there was bigger budget, so you do have bigger locations and settings, and the technology went much better a few years later. But I could tell that at that moment he did pay attention more to the characters and allowing them to grow, and for you to enjoy longer scenes. And he did a great job. And it's my favorite. I truly enjoyed it. And I love how, I don't know if you noticed, but if you see
I don't
the
know if you
original
noticed.
the original scenes on Return of the Jedi on the big hangar of the Republic, Darth Vader coming down his personal
Oh
ship,
yeah, the
whatever.
Empire.
The Empire. Thank you. I'm sorry. The Empire. Republic is the good guys, right?
Yeah, the New Republic is like
The
what
New
happened,
Republic.
what
Great,
like is
great,
created after the Empire's fall.
great. So the Empire, and there's a stormtroopers and other characters on that big hangar. The lighting, J.J. Abrams is used it on episode 7, and it is used throughout episode 7, 8, and 9. I hope so 9. But if you notice the big hangar, the type of lighting they use, and the angles of the lighting of the hangar creates continuity. I was watching Return of the Jedi and the big hangars with the stormtrooper, and then I watched episode 7, and there is even though episode 7 does have much better technology now, this feeling was very similar because he respected what it would look like a few years later to have the same hangers, same lighting, right? Like the Empire hired the same electrician to install the lights that it did in before. And I love that. He respected that, which it was a problem that I had with the prequels. Remember, the prequels look different. It is true.
Yeah,
We have a
totally.
pre-war, after-war scenario. Okay? But the problem I have with Return of the Jedi, there was a little bit of an issue that I had at the end, was that the cities are still there. When they're celebrating, there's big cities that we haven't seen in the whole 3 movies, and now all of a sudden we see for them. Why? Because now the technology is there, and he went back and edited some scenes in. I did not like that because I would have liked to end it like you said. You know what? There was pre-war life and a society with beautiful shiny objects, and then a post-war that is all dirty and deserted, and people are just trying to survive at this moment.
This tiny little group of rebels is really the only way that whole army would win. You know, it had to be a small group to go in and infiltrate.
So that lack of respect for the setting, I think that the prequel, I didn't like it. Now that I've seen 6 and I've seen how J.J. Abrams respected that setting on number 7, I think it's great. I think you can go from 6 and watch 7 right away. Yep. And even though it has a few years have passed, it's not, you're not going to feel you're watching 2 different worlds, 2 different movies, 2 different things. There's continuity on it, and I love that he did that. And for that, like I said, I'm going to enjoy a good movie because it was done by a good filmmaker.
Right, that's what I think, and I totally agree. First of all, I'm so amazed by your attention to detail for movies. Like, continuity of a scene is not like just a term that people throw around in like a regular conversation. Pardon me. You're right, though. It makes whatever they're doing, it makes you feel the 4 walls of the room that they're in is the same room. Like it feels like you're almost like in the room with them. You don't get disoriented. And the second thing, that was the main worry I had, because the prequels were all digital and the originals are all practical effects. You know, like there wasn't anything digital in that movie other than like the lasers. And JJ went back to using practical effects like puppets and physical things, and not like digitally created
big sets, big real sets. Yes,
right.
Exactly.
And they
big
on
hanger.
Location. You know, they were traveling all over the world.
Mm-hmm. And I think
in the first trailer for The Force Awakens, I was like, JJ, I knew it. Like, he learned from Lucas's mistake in the prequels by making everything fucking digital, and he went back to what made it work in the originals, which is so crazy if you think about technology working that way. So let's get into your first question, unless you have anything else.
No, that's it. Let's do it.
Okay, so I've heard people talk about this before, and
really,
I've never really heard people get to any sort of conclusion, because I think it's pretty simple. So your question is, Leia remembers her mom. Leia remembers her mom. Timeline issue? Question mark. I think, and this is just my theory, the only way that they could explain her saying that, considering her mom died at childbirth, is either one, some sort of force connection where Leia is able to pull memories of her mother that she never met, or it's just something that a little girl without a mom just made up in her head. You know, like little kids just make shit up for unexplained occurrences and events. So I mean, it's probably a mistake, you know, but I think you could just explain it that way.
Okay.
She just put it in her head. She's like, I have visions and flashes, you know, she's like, I barely remember. I know she's beautiful. Well, you're not going to remember your mother, even if it's a pretend, like, figment of your imagination. You're not going to imagine her ugly.
No.
Ooh. This is a funny question. Holy
Okay.
shit. And this is the first time I'm reading them. For the first time, I didn't review them because it's Return of the Jedi and it's my favorite. And you only had like a couple questions, so I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I was expecting Snoke. Where is he?
Yes. So now that I have the chance to follow the story as it goes, right? Um, we all know Palpatine is it's back in some way, shape, or form from the originals or whatever. All side note, really quick. Not a big fan like you are, but I am getting a little geeked out when I recognize people. We need to talk a little bit about Rogue One because I went back and looked at Rogue One, and oh man,
Man,
now I
yeah.
recognize
Oh
characters
my god.
from New Hope that I am kicking out. And then
Watching that movie for the
Rogue
first
One
time.
and Rogue One did a great job. Also, Leah's stepdad is in Rogue One. I mean, adopted dad.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know. Jimmy
For
Smits.
one short scene, from like one short thing, but it was. I'm like, oh my goodness, that connection was just great, subtle, small. I love it. Okay, but the question is, what happened with Snoke? So Snoke is big on 7, 8, and 9, but it's nowhere in
7 and
from
8.
2 to 6. 7 and 8, sorry, 7 and 8. He's nowhere on 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. So what's up with Snoke? Who is Snoke? Where did he come from? Because
You
there's no
know,
even hint on 6 that there is a third one or a fourth one or somebody higher. It felt that it was Darth Vader, Palpatine, and that's it. So who's Snoke and where does he come from? What's up?
you know as much about Snoke as everybody else. Like when he showed up in episode 7 in Force Awakens, it was like, okay, well, this is like the new bad guy. I have no idea who it is. So I think in Rise of Skywalker, we're gonna get some real answers about Snoke. And I think the Emperor is just playing puppet master with everybody. You know, you saw the
Okay.
trailer where I've been every voice that you have heard inside your head. That's bad. Darth Vader. No one can do it. But you know,
Oh,
like so, you know, in Force Awakens, he's talking to the helmet. Show me the, show me the way to the darkness, grandfather.
that's so good. You need to do an episode in
Grandfather.
which you just have like caricatures of every character and you're saying something, they're talking. But it's a real conversation like about breakfast. Like it's Han Solo asking him what he wants to eat for breakfast. And he talks like this and he says, I don't want eggs.
Yeah.
You know I'm lactose intolerant.
Haven't had breakfast in 20 years, kid.
You've been an
Um,
absent father and now you care about my breakfast.
yeah. How about teaching me how to kiss a girl?
Yeah.
Um, so, dude, Snoke, yeah, Snoke is. I heard the new movie is jam packed, and a lot of people, I guess, didn't like that, which is so weird. Because I just don't want it to be, an empty sack of a movie. I want it to be jam packed. Like, this is
Yeah.
Star Wars. Give it all of it to me. And then someone said that video I sent you guys, that priest that does, I don't know, I didn't check out his channel, but he's got like 67,000 followers. And he did he went to the premiere and he came out and he did an instant reaction, no spoilers. And he was like almost in tears talking about how they answer every question that we could have possibly had. I keep hearing fan service, fan service. I'm like, at this fucking point, the fact that you're even making Star Wars movies, they're all fan service. How different can you make this story end? Like, there's only a few possible ways they're going to end it. And if anyone is expecting something that you haven't already kind of thought of yet, I don't understand. I don't understand that logic. The good guys are going to win. Someone's going to sacrifice. It's all the same.
I told you my theory. Anakin was sleeping all along. This was a dream of Anakin being a little kid, and he dreamed the entire nine sagas. He's never left his mom. He's still a slave for that guy, and he just woke up, and he loses the race. Even better.
That guy, that like bug that flies.
Yeah, bug the
Hello,
flies. All right. Well, I hope that we get an answer by
Andy.
Snow.
Hey, Andy, get over there and clean the The robots. All right,
He was
last
rushed.
question. So Darth Vader is good now.
Yes, is Darth Vader good? So he ends sacrificing for his son, which, by the way, let's admit it, that was a little bit of a lame death.
That was
Like,
such an '80s finisher. Like in wrestling, that would no one would have bought that was the end of
no,
the match. He
exactly. He got a little bit of.
up and threw him over. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I get electrocuted worse than that fixing my house. And he got electrocuted, okay, and he dies. That's fine. Darth Vader dies. But
And
he's good. And then he
broke his suit.
appears, and then at the end, oh yeah, because of the oxygen, right? The breathing.
Yeah.
Okay, but at the end, then he appears as a ghost, as a force ghost in the party. And he shows up with Yoda and Obi-Wan. All of a sudden, we forget everything's done. Okay, that he killed little Jedis, little kid Jedis for all that. Let's forget all that. That's cool. Forgiveness. You know what I mean? Let's preach it. That's great.
Redemption.
So is he good? Because then we jump into 7, 8, and 9, and supposedly he's still leading his grandson to be evil, to come to the dark side, or it's not Darth Vader at all, and he's just a grandson imagining this, and it's Palpatine doing it all along.
All right. So, who else knows of the redemption of Darth Vader?
Only Luke.
Right. Luke didn't run around and be like, "My daddy threw the Emperor over." Like they probably didn't talk about it. It probably just was like, "We won. Let's move on with our life." So anyone still connected to the Empire, even after its fall, they didn't. I mean, the Mandalorian is showing that there's still cells of the Empire all over the place. They're just not united under the Empire or the Emperor or Darth Vader. But they still praise the Emperor and Darth Vader as like the greatest leaders ever. And those bastard rebels came in and they murdered them. It's like the reliable source thing where our history books are just told by one person, like a certain point of view got it printed down on paper. Who really knows what happened? And who really knows who the good guys are and the bad guys? It's all relative. It's like from a certain point of view, Darth Vader is a hero to anyone who is like a child and grows up under the Empire or gets seduced by the dark side and kind of like brainwashed. So in the grand scheme of it all, Anakin Skywalker did bring balance to the Force. He was redeemed by his son and ultimately did something that his son couldn't do, and that's destroy the Emperor. As cheesy as the execution was, just an over-the-head Ultimate Warrior elimination from the Royal Rumble. And they threw him down into the thing, into the whatever, the vent that destroys Death Star 2. But again, that wasn't like news that Darth Vader turned good guy throughout like the galaxy. So in the Imperial people and Kylo Ren, who like, I see, this is what's so stupid. The dumbest thing that they did was have more than one director for this trilogy. Rian Johnson came in, and Kylo Ren's character was supposed to be this like fanboy who was fed lies about Darth Vader. And don't you see him like wanting to become more and more evil, like Darth Vader? I want to become Darth Vader. Remember, Rey even calls him out, like, you never be like Darth Vader. And then finally Luke's like, it was Darth Vader who was my dad, who threw the Emperor over, saved the whole galaxy. He was the good guy. Like I was kind of thinking that's where he was leading towards, like this whole fantasy of your hero and you wanting to be evil. Your hero was an actual hero. Like he was a good person, not this like evil villain.
Is that on The Last Jedi? On the showdown and the you said Luke explaining that to Kylo Ren?
No, that's what I thought was going, like if JJ had like been able to do The Last Jedi.
I see what you mean.
I saw that happening. It was like Kylo was this Darth Vader fanboy. Like if there was like a Hitler Youth. He thought Hitler was the greatest.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the people around him told him that, because they had to, or else they would die.
And then he gets his dreams broken and shattered.
And that's why when Ben says that boy was our last hope, and Yoda says, no, there is another, I think he's talking about Darth Vader, because Darth Vader is the one who can take out the Emperor. And he does.
Oh, that's a good one. That is really good. Good job, John. You're right. It was not Leia. But okay,
Yeah,
can we
she
talk a
doesn't
little
believe
bit? Those are the questions I had. You done a great job. Leia's badass. She
I love
needs
her.
to her outfit is a distraction. I get it, but she kills Jabba the Hutt. I mean, that's a big neck to strangle, and she finds the opportunity and kills him. I didn't even know that ever happened. I thought Jabba the Hutt was one of those villains that will ever be in the movie, always shows up at the worst moment. And I'm like, oh man, she killed him.
There's so many homages to that scene when Leia wraps the chain around Jabba's neck and just pulls it amongst the chaos when, R2-D2 shoots the lightsaber to Luke, and Luke's just fucking everybody up, and he flips off the thing and flips back into it, and everybody's just causing chaos, and Jabba's like, what's going on? And in the melee, Leia just hops behind him and pulls the chain around his neck, and his tail's flapping, and he's and then he's dead, and his tongue is hanging out, and like,
so nasty.
and then she breaks C-3PO loose and R2-D2, and they get the fuck out of there. God, I love that whole first act of that movie is awesome.
And for me, it was exciting because it was the first time I thought that you'd really get to see Luke using the lightsaber really well. You see full body using it, not just, shortcuts. I know he uses it with his dad. But I felt okay. Now they really paid attention to this, to using a lightsaber the proper way on the movie. As a movie aspect, how to make a movie. R2-D2 still the hero. There he is, okay?
Dude,
carrying a lightsaber, throwing it at him.
Yet again, R2-D2 like knows the plan that no one else knows, but like one other, Luke, like he just like in the middle of everything, he's like serving drinks, and then all of a sudden you see him just wheel away. He's like, I gotta go.
C-3PO's he is the best. Yes, he is the best, and again, he is secretly the one that saved the entire universe of Star Wars.
And when Luke gives him and then it opens. I can remember the first time watching it, like, oh, of course, R2-D2 is gonna save him. Like no one's paying attention to that little blue trash can.
If R2-D2 is involved, we're okay. Like, oh, there he is. They're safe. They're good. They're gonna be fine. I'm excited to see what happens on this one, number 9.
I heard, and this is not really a spoiler. Chewie gets a moment where people went nuts. Like a great moment for Chewie. I don't know what the hell that means, but I think he's due. I mean, Chewie's best moment in Last Jedi was when he was eating the porgs.
That's funny. That's really good. John, listen, I've enjoyed doing this, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate the order too. So if anybody hasn't done it and wants, I don't think watching chronologically helps. I don't think there is true continuity of it, or at least understand the story. I think the 4 and 5, the Machete Order, 4 and 5, to appreciate the original movies, to see the original story, watch 2 and 3 as a origin story for Darth Vader, and then finalize with 6, where did everybody end it. I think it's a great order. You do not need number 1, and there are fans out there that are going to tell you, oh, how are you going to miss 1 when Anakin is a little kid? It's a creepo thing if you watch number 1 and Anakin is a kid and Princess Padme is older than him. So you don't miss anything but that. A cool race, and really, but I'm trying to look back any reasons that I would need to watch number 1, and I can't think of anything that it would be like, oh, you need to know, you need to see that to understand the story. No, you don't.
Right. I mean, Darth Maul visually and the fight with him and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, I mean, that's an amazing lightsaber match. But other than that, it's just like, the movie, the kid should have been that age for the first 20 minutes of the movie, and then they should have jumped to how old he was in Attack of the Clones. and it would have just been a lot more tolerable. Too
Yeah.
much little kid.
Rogue One. I watched Rogue One after 6, and then just to catch up before 9, I also got a chance to see number 7. I did not watch 8, but I wanted to see number 7 a little bit.
I can't
And
now I can't believe how different Rogue One must be for you now.
it
After
is.
watching the other ones.
Those text messages. So people watching, I text you immediately within 5 minutes of Rogue One starting, because I'm recognizing characters. I'm recognizing. That's one thing I like about Mandalorian. There's characters I recognize in Return of the Jedi. For example, the little laughing thing next to Jabba the Hutt. That is what they're cooking in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
But my favorite cameo so far on Rogue One is the bar guys that I think is one of the worst edited scenes on New Hope. The guy with the testicles in his neck.
Yes.
And him and his buddy is still trying to get into a fight because
I have the death sentence on 9 planets.
Well, I can tell why, because he gets in a fight in every planet and he bumps into the girl from Rogue One. I forgot her name, the character.
What is her name? Jin.
Yeah, sure, her.
Yeah.
And they hit, and they bump into each other when she's walking, and he's trying to get in a fight again there with her. I'm like, oh, those are the guys from the bar. So unfortunately, from there he goes to Tatooine and gets arms chopped off for trying to start a fight in a bar.
Oh yeah.
So that was pretty cool
right.
to see that.
Yeah, I love Mandalorian, how they always sprinkle in all the stuff from the trilogy, like the doorman, I guess, at Jabba's palace, that just like thing that comes out. That's
A
on
little light.
Yes. It sounds like Pee Wee Herman in another language. And Mandalorian like rips it off the wall, remember? But when it showed up, I was like, ooh, they're in Tatooine.
Oh, and I think that on Rogue One, I think it's in another bar scene. I need to go look back and look at it. I think they have also the werewolf, the original werewolf. I think they did a thing, right? The werewolf walking, almost like an homage to an original, very poor made character.
How insane is it that the devil that has a 2-second appearance in A New Hope had like a major, like is a major character in The Mandalorian, not a major character, but like he'll be back. Like he didn't die. That was so crazy. They like give you like he's immune to fire. He's like super strong. It's insane. And we were just talking about it.
I think that the respect that the different filmmakers have done, because The Mandalorian is not done by J.J. Abrams, it's not done by George Lucas, it's done by the guy that made Marvel happen, the genius of Iron Man. What's his name?
Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau. Which, side note,
and Dave Filoni.
I am a fan of him from, you're gonna laugh, Friends. In Friends.
Let me say something. Jon Favreau got some award like a week or two ago, and I wanted to like just retweet like the tweet that I saw announcing it, and remember when he was trying out for the Octagon to impress Monica in Friends?
Yes.
he was so funny. Like his character was so weird.
It is so funny to see him from that. Like that's the first time I ever saw him. He was dating Monica, and from being a rich man decides to be a cage fighter. It is hilarious. And then goes to be the security head for Iron Man. And I didn't know. I just found out recently that he actually directed the movie, produced the movie. So it's been pretty cool. And then when I saw that he was in The Mandalorian, the guy's a genius. I think he has a great mind. And for me, again, is allowing characters, people like me, fans that were not interested in really getting into the Star Wars original saga, to give it a chance. Because you're like, okay, if there's this many characters and there's the great development on the story of The Mandalorian, there is something there, ignoring, of course, the worldwide phenomena of Star Wars already. And I'm glad that he did. And I like the fact that there's respect between the filmmakers, where they're bringing aspects of the stories into each other's world. It's not even the worldly stuff in the story, but the characters. They're respecting characters. They're respecting settings. For example, the boxes, the Q boxes, which are cargo boxes in The Mandalorian, is the same cargo boxes there is in every single movie,
Yes.
including the TV show of Clone Wars that my son
Oh
watches.
yeah, that's
So
right. Even animated versions are
even
accurate.
animated version, they all use like, hey, if it's like Acme. ACME is the
Right.
brand that all the Looney Tunes
Right,
products
right.
are made of. So
Yeah, all the random
I,
like objects have Acme on it.
yes. So even though
That's
there's different stories, different directors, different little storylines, there is a respect for the entire universe, and I'm excited to see what's gonna come after 9, what shows show up, what um, spin-off are there, because it's a great world. It's a really good, cool world, and there's a lot more to explore in it.
yeah, and it's interesting. It is so similar to the Marvel universe, but it was not. There was not like this. It was like the source material was so different that it was done. The comic book world was it was like it was easier for them to kind of plot out a future because they already like knew what was there that they were taking from.
Hmm.
And this was something that it existed almost as a myth because it was this there was 3 movies, it was so small, and that's all we got, nothing else.
Yeah.
And then oh my gosh, we're getting more, and they sucked. So it's like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? What are you doing to this like amazing like fantasy I created in my head of these movies where anything was possible, and you took it here,
Yes.
CGI, quicksand. But the Mandalorian, um, it even it's already in production for season 2,
Mm,
and
I didn't know that.
Margaret Chow, I think that's her name, Deborah Chow, this female director who directed episode 3 of Mandalorian, which if you remember was awesome, and she directed the most recent one, chapter 7, which I think is the best episode so far. And she's going to direct the whole Obi-Wan Disney Plus series with Ewan McGregor that comes out. I don't know when, probably
Oh
2021.
wow. So
Right.
Ewan McGregor is gonna come back as Obi-Wan. That's great.
Yes, like a series like Mandalorian, and it's going to be set during, I guess, a different time. Like I think it's gonna be between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Yes, that's when it will be.
I, I think the Mandalorian for me has a redemption comeback where it has shown other people involved in Star Wars and anybody who has any say so that the fans are eager to get real, deep character development, um, dark stories. It doesn't need to be happy and jolly. It has enough humor to keep it light enough, but there is some drama in it, and it doesn't feel silly. It doesn't feel immature. It feels like this was done for the adults. This was done for the
Yeah,
parents. When the kids go to bed, the parents watch The Mandalorian, right?
so
I'm gonna let
true.
my son watch the Clone Wars. We're gonna watch that, and I hope that it allows her, like a director, to feel comfortable to say, "Hey, I can touch very serious topics in these shows and keep the light of the universe without making it too silly, and actually give people real stories." And you forget that you're watching a girl with two big long
Right.
tail things, whatever, coming out of her head, and you
Yeah.
actually, believe, or watching the devil pick him up
Right.
and throw him out of the way. You actually believe like, oh man, these are real characters, and I like what I've done. I'm going to
Totally.
throw a surprise question for you, because I just remember a conversation I had with my brother-in-law. He's a big fan. In fact, Return of the Jedi, I watched it with him. Our wives, my wife and her sister had a girls' night out, and I said, "Hey, why don't you come over? I'm watching Return of the Jedi." I did not remember how big of a fan he is, and he shows up. He immediately said yes. Shows up, and man, he is a huge fan. I mean, he is.
Was he talking
He
through the whole
knows
movie?
not through the whole movie. Actually, he was such a good of a fan that he was just sitting there, just admiring it. The talking was before the movie when we went
Right.
to get dinner, pick up dinner, and bring it.
Right.
And I was telling him what we're doing here, and then I was telling him about the Mandalorian. He actually says he read the books of the Mandalorians, And I want to get your opinion on this. He says that Boba Fett and um, the other Fett, Boba Fett and
Django.
Jango Fett are actually Mandalorians, and the
Yeah.
books confirm it.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. I was wrong. Because I remember saying I wasn't sure. I feel like they just kind of copied what Mandalorians were, but they weren't.
The
But no,
outfit,
they
yeah.
actually are. Uh, but the Mando isn't like technically a Mandalorian yet. Remember how they
Because
keep
he's
his signet? He doesn't have a signet yet
Mando in the
in the
on
show.
Mandalorian, the
Yeah.
show. Okay, but Boba Fett and Jango Fett are actually Mandalorians. And I think you said this before. The helmet that Boba Fett is using is Jango's helmet. That is the one he picked up after they shoved the head off.
Oh, I didn't know that because they're different. The Boba Fett's mask is green or helmet is green, and Django's was like silver and blue. Unless I don't know, unless it's like
He
wear
said
and
that
tear.
based on the book is wear and tear. Yeah, based on the book is wear and
Oh,
tear. That it
okay.
is it's he picks it up after they chop the head off, and that is actually his helmet. So I thought that was very interesting. And the reason why I said that is because I like the guilt, and I like the fact, even though there are bounty hunters, I think that they have a code that they follow. There's an honor code, and when it's the right time to do the right thing, they do it. And I was a little disappointed that Boba Fett, the Jango Fett on the original prequels, it seemed like he was not following a good code. I feel he was just following the money, and he
Yeah.
was showing that to Boba Fett, and eventually Boba Fett grows up to just follow the money as well. But I like to think that there was a little bit of hope for them at the end, and I'm excited to see what the Mandalorian shows, and maybe Boba Fett comes back, as some
Did
people believe.
you did you notice that what happened to Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi?
He gets in by this monster, which it's pretty funny. So one thing that watching the Return of the Jedi with my brother-in-law is a little bit of age. He's in his 40s, if I'm correct. He actually watched the original Return of the Jedi in the movie theaters, right when it
Wow.
came out. He watched it in
Wow.
the movie theater, and he remembers that the monster. And this is the first time he was watching it on the re-digitalized versions.
Right.
So we're watching it in Disney
God.
Plus, and he's going several times. He went like, "Oh wait, that wasn't like that when I watched it. Oh wait, that wasn't the same thing because they added those things." The monster was the first thing he noticed. It was like, "Huh, that monster wasn't that detailed when the movie came
No.
out." I said, "Really?" And he goes, "No, it was only sand. You only saw sand, and then it's one time you saw that there was a monster in there, so you knew there was a monster." But he said all you saw was sand. The characters will fall and will
No.
be sand.
No,
So he
you
says this.
saw more than sand. You saw like a hole in the sand that had like spikes coming out of it and what looked like, I don't know, like tissue of like a living thing. Like it was detailed. Like it looked fucking scary. Like you didn't want to fall down it. It just didn't have the tentacles and that
Coming
big
out of their
thing that
mouth, coming
came out.
out. Yeah.
But like that one thing does shoot out and grab Lando's foot. Remember, it's like wrapped around his leg.
Yeah.
And Han shoots it blind. Just trust me. Hold still.
No, I thought that was pretty cool to see those two different versions. And he did not know that at the end, Anakin, they interposed the new Anakin, young Anakin, instead of the original actor,
Yeah, it
which I feel
makes
sorry for
no
the original
sense.
actor. So,
Makes
yeah.
no sense. Luke doesn't know what Anakin looks like. Like,
Mm.
why would Luke
And
get a teenage version of his dad? Why wouldn't it be Ewan
yeah, right.
McGregor then? You know, like,
I don't know. He got the time when his dad, conceived him. I guess that's.
all right.
I
Well,
think.
let's wrap up here. We
Yes.
have I have less than 24 hours to go, and same for you actually. Before
I
we
right
be
now, yeah, which is question mark.
right about now, I'll probably be getting out of the theater, and it'll feel like I was just on an airplane at 40,000 feet without a roof. I
And I'll
can't
be
wait.
turning my phone off so you do not spoil anything with your excitement.
No, I will not spoil anything. We're gonna deep dive into it Friday night. Hopefully, if we can all still do that, that would be awesome. We got to get out
Yes.
and give our thoughts. We're gonna talk about how we thought every character was handled, and then we're gonna go through each act and just kind of get our our interpretation and our
Yes.
experience on
I'm
it. That'd be
excited.
awesome. So as usual, everyone, make sure to like, subscribe, tell your grandmother I love you. Bye. Oh, hey. Make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and hit the notification bell. And if you're finding me for the first time, I do trailer reaction videos, hot take movie reviews, news briefs on anything Marvel, DC, Star Wars. You'll love it. Thanks.